Hi, everybody. This is Rich Ruggiero. We're going to start in a minute or two, waiting for everybody to get logged in. If possible, please follow the instructions on the screen if you'd like to participate in ClassFlow polling, and we'll see you in a minute. Okay, hi everybody. Again, this is Rich Ruggiero from Promethean. Thank you for attending our webinar today. I hope that everybody's doing well. There is a set of instructions on the screen right now, or should be at least, that detail how to get onto ClassFlow. We're going to start the webinar off with a few polls to understand where everybody's coming from first, and then moving forward from there. The group from Promethean right now, I am Rich Ruggiero. I'm the territory director for New York and New Jersey. We also have Katie Walsh, is my inside associate in Promethean. She's the inside sales associate over in Alpharetta, Georgia. Brianne Allen, who is in the Buffalo area in New York, is our regional educational consultant and is in charge of training coordination. Bree has 16 years experience in the classroom and will be carrying most of the weight of this webinar. And then Brandon Butler, who is our field sales engineer, is located in Connecticut and is here to act as a liaison and problem solver for technology questions and so forth. Just a couple of ground rules prior to starting. We're intending to give an overview of a lot of tools today, not just simply one like ClassFlow or screen share. We're trying to give you a taste of what's possible with the active panels that you have, but also in general what hybrid learning is and how you can best achieve that in the classroom. We have all the phones and computers on mute. We can activate somebody's voice if we need clarification on questions and so forth. But for now, at least, you have a Q&A and a chat area that you can type questions into, and we'll be breaking in periodically for any questions that arise during the webinar. We will be sending a follow-up, so don't feel compelled to take cell phone photos of the screens or anything like that. The follow-up document that we send out is pretty full featured with regard to training and learning and understanding the active panels better. Finally, your feedback is important. You will have my email address. You probably already do. But if you feel compelled to provide us feedback on how we can make this better for our customers, we're all ears. You folks know better than we do and are facing a very challenging fall, to say the least. So whatever we can do to help you, we will go out of our way to do so. And then lastly, on my part, thanks for attending and taking the time. And if you need any additional information or clarifications, please don't hesitate to reach out to me either by phone or by email, and I'm happy to help. So without any further ado, I am going to turn this over to Brianne. Bree, are you there?
I am here.
All right.
Do you want me to share my screen now, Rich? Yeah.
You're in charge, Bree. It's all you.
All right, I've got this. Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to share my panel screen with you. So right now you're just seeing me on a camera, but I want you to see the screen as well on yours. So just give me one moment to make that happen. Okay, so many of you have just joined into my class flow, so welcome to my class and welcome this morning. We're so happy to have you here. What we're going to do is we're going to run a few live polling questions through our class flow software, just so we can get an idea of the path that your district is going to take this year. As soon as, there we go, okay. So the first question I'd like to ask you is, what is your district's learning plan for the 2020 school year? This is a multiple choice poll, so let me just start that. And you will see the options of A, B, C, or D show up on your screen. We have 4 questions. So are you using a hybrid model? Are you using an in-class model, a completely virtual, or other? And what you'll see on my screen here is that your polls are coming in and my graph on the screen is going to adjust as you're responding. And I see that we're just waiting for a few more responses. 20 responses are remaining. It'll show me that right over here on my screen as the educator in charge of this class. So once you select A, B, C, or D, you will just hit enter. And if you didn't get logged in or you're missing the code on our Zoom screen, the code to enter the class is right up here in the corner, 6QZ5S. So looking at the responses that we're getting now, and I know some people are still logging in and giving us a response, but it seems like the hybrid model is going to be the most widely used method to start this school year out. So the one nice thing about this is if this were my classroom and I did have students sitting in front of me and some at home for that hybrid model, they could be joining my class synchronously, and they could be responding and participating even though they're at home on their computer. So this is a great little model of how this can be incorporated into that hybrid learning classroom and model that's being used. I'm going to stop this poll just for the sake of time so we can move on to the next question. I do see a few people will be in class. What we're doing today, this will still help, especially because you are going to possibly have some students' parents who choose not to send their children to school. I know many districts are going full on, but they have to provide that opportunity for the students whose parents are not comfortable sending them to school. So again, a lot of the things that we talk about today are going to assist in that model also. And then completely virtual, again, if we're completely virtual, that's great. We are there right now, but we're still being able to interact. So this could work for that model also. So the next thing I'm going to ask you is for you to decide, use a Likert scale to decide how you feel about this statement. And the statement is, my teacher and district are prepared to provide quality instruction to our students with our chosen model. So for this one, I'm going to start a new poll, and this is going to be a scale, and we are going to use the agreement scale. And so I will start that poll. And you should have that opportunity to decide where you are with agreeing to this statement. And again, the nice thing about these is I do see the responses in real time. In addition to, if I wanted to see the names of who chose which response, I could simply switch that over to show the names But for these, we're just doing them anonymously so that we can kind of get a feel for what you have going on in your district. So it looks that we have, you know, quite a spread here, but I would be nervous if you weren't somewhere in the neutral to disagree. We are springing a lot on our teachers. There's a lot of things that need to get done in a very short time, which is why we're hosting these webinars, to try and assist you and your teachers to make this whole transition in this year that is, you know, very different from anything we've had to do in previous years, just to make it a little bit easier. So as we're going through things, please feel free to ask questions. As Rich said, use the Q&A or use the chat. We've got people there to help respond, and we will make sure that we can support you as much as possible. So I'm going to stop this now and go on to my last question for you. So the last question for you is, what words come to mind when you hear hybrid learning? And the type of poll we're going to do for this is a word seed poll. So it's going to allow you to respond multiple times. In order to respond multiple times, you're going to type in a word, hit submit, then you'll erase that word, type a new one, hit submit, and it will keep allowing you to add answers to this. So I'm going to select word seed and allow you to come in. So words that come to mind when you hear hybrid learning. This is a great brainstorming KWL type of situation we would be doing in a classroom, but we're able to do this virtually. So they are coming in a lot. And just for the sake of time, I'm going to stop it shortly just so we can look at what we have here. So what you'll see is on these responses, and if you just want to look at your Zoom screen now, you can. You'll be able to see what I'm doing a little bit better. I'm seeing stress, I'm seeing missed opportunities, flexibility, anxiety proving. I totally agree with you. Confusing, overwhelming. But the cool thing that you'll also see is how quickly I was able to get student feedback in a virtual manner. So we feel for you. We know you guys are working so hard right now to get this school year up and running, and we hope that we can provide you with any, you know, support that you're looking at. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to leave this, and we're going to talk about how I've set my computer up, how you're able to do the things that I'm doing, and what you need to really try and make a hybrid learning model successful in your districts. So I'm going to just shrink this. We're going to bring up my PowerPoint. Okay, so Promethean. We are so happy to have you as part of our Promethean world. And just, you know, we're trying to empower this change. We've done a lot of things as we've come along, and some of that was preemptive of this whole scenario. So we kind of feel we're somewhat intuitive because we've got things that were already there for you to be able to use. So now that we're in here, sorry, my computer's gone. So what will teaching look like? You just told me that some of you will be in a hybrid learning model, some will be fully in the classroom, and some will also be doing it fully virtual. I am fully virtual. I'm in my home studio here with you. So we need to purposely design our classroom or our home studios for how our, you know, world's going to look for these next couple weeks. And when we talk about hybrid learning, there's some key components for it. One of them is a computer, a strong internet connection, a camera, some video conferencing, an active panel, and the ability to have multi-device mirroring, which is part of your panel. In this image here, you can see that it's got students in a classroom and students at home learning synchronously while a camera is filming the teacher at her panel. That is really what we are doing right now, except I don't have students in front of me.
Bree, if I may, just, can I break in? We had a couple of questions. Kaylee wanted to know, how are you setting up the screen so that you can have ClassFlow and Zoom on the same screen? Brandon answered her, and I was wondering, Brandon, if you wouldn't mind jumping in and just clarifying that.
Yeah, sorry, I was typing away while that was going on.
There you go.
Yeah, so it depends on obviously the setup. In my case, I'm on a laptop and have the Zoom app installed. And so when I switch to, let's say, the browser where I have ClassFlow open, I can still see the video feed coming over my display. Therefore, I always have both the teacher and kind of my ClassFlow view ready to go. However, if with some of the students, you may only be on a setup where they have, you know, the Zoom browser tab open. So you're looking at the web view of the conferencing app. For the most part with ClassFlow, I know in this case, we have the benefit of seeing what's on Brand's screen with the live results and everything else. That side of things isn't as important. That's the teacher view. I know she's showing it off to kind of give you perspective of what's going on there, but at least in ClassFlow, a lot of that can be driven directly through the ClassFlow environment. Brianne can push out the slides and information to each of the student devices through ClassFlow in that browser tab. So for a lot of the interaction with ClassFlow, the Zoom or Google Meets or whatever the class distance learning application is for conferencing kind of becomes the audio feed for that while ClassFlow is driving that lesson. Now, if it is tab-based, so if I do have maybe the Zoom or Google Meets open in a specific tab, I can still move back and forth between tabs if the video becomes important. So that's where the teacher can kind of direct the class to different areas, right? If it's more important to be on ClassFlow to see the slides and do the poll, then we can switch to that tab. However, if we need to now transition to just looking at the video, which, for example, right now, as Brianne's talking more through the PowerPoint, might be the time to look at the video, we can kind of move back and forth between those tabs. So yes, while I agree having multiple screens and, you know, split screen on the page, which you can do with certain tabs. I know it sounds like with ClassFlow, you need that full screen to get the voting. While that can be done, I'm traditionally have been doing this completely on my laptop with no additional monitors, just to make sure that, you know, the experience is the same for us as we're kind of walking through this.
Thanks, Brandon. Also, while we were at it, Rachel asked a couple of questions.
Right. I'm seeing that, Rich. Do you want it? That comes up kind of in the next slide. Do you want me to kind of hit on those and then we can come back to some of these questions?
Sounds great. Sounds
great. Awesome. So again, like Brandon said, this can all be done with just a computer screen and sharing. But one of the things that I think is important about this is our students are at home. They've been at home for a while. Being able to see that teacher face, to see me here physically still teaching them the way they would if they were in my classroom, I think is an important piece. It may not need to happen all the time, but I think it's going to give them some level of comfort and a little bit more buy-in to having to do some of this digital learning. So when we talk about the hybrid learning and the things that we needed, we talked about a computer. So your active panel is a computer, but you could also include your classroom laptop, laptop or desktop computer as a means to share lessons. So as Brandon was saying, he's run so many on just his laptop without having, you know, the visual of me on the side or him on the side. You also want to make sure you have a strong internet connection so that obviously all of this can occur. A camera is only necessary if you want them to see your face. A lot of your laptops have a built-in camera. That camera will suffice. If not, a web camera can also be plugged into a computer or mounted somewhere in the classroom. The biggest thing that we find is to have it at live eye level so that you can easily see the teacher without her having to look down, and you can see the panel at the same time. So I know I saw one of those questions asking, does this only work with Zoom? No, our panel works with pretty much all of the ones that you may use in your classroom. Google Meet, Zoom, Teams, WebEx, all of those will still provide this ability to show the video of the teacher teaching while showing the panel if you use the two devices. So what you're finding right now that I actually did was I am logged into this meeting on my laptop, which is the video part that you're seeing of me. And I'm also logged in on my panel and I'm sharing my panel screen. So to do that, I'm gonna go back into Zoom just so you can see how I did this. So in Zoom, when I'm in this meeting, I'm going to stop sharing just so that you can see me at my panel right now. And now you're just seeing me standing in front of my panel. Zoom is running in the background, but I'm not sharing my screen. But to do so, all I will do is tap this green square here and hit share, and then I will tap screen. And now you are seeing my screen big on your computer. And it will work very similarly with Google Meets or WebEx. It's just a simple tapping of sharing your panel screen and still being logged in as a participant on my computer. And then I'll stop there for a second so I can respond to some questions, Rich. Or are they all answered? Rich? Okay, well, then we'll come back. Okay, so when we talk about this model and what you're seeing is panels here, teacher or me right here in front of you, and then my computer is right in front of me on a stand. It's on a podium so that it is eye level. And I could also have students in my classroom, and then I'm also reaching my students at home. There are different ways to set this up depending on your need. But currently in this picture here, you are seeing how my model is set up in my classroom. My laptop is on a stand and it's eye level with me facing my panel so that you are seeing me directly in front of my panel on the video. With your active panel element series, you have a host of built-in apps just to make lessons engaging. So if we are going to have synchronous learning happen between students in the classroom and at home, or even asynchronous ones where we're making a video for students, these apps are there to help make your lessons a little more engaging. Our whiteboard app, our annotate app, the ability to screen capture things. But our latest update also included user profiles and the ability to connect your panel to a cloud. So you can connect to your Google Drive or you can connect to your OneDrive depending on what your district uses. The nice thing about this is if you are doing a hybrid model, so now we've got some students in our classrooms, but we've decided to move teachers so that our students stay put and we're reducing that risk of spreading more germs and whatnot. You can put user profiles for each teacher who's going to use that panel right there. And that, again, will allow them a secure place to be connected to their Google Drive or their OneDrive and not have to re-sign into things every time they switch rooms. So the user profiles allows uniqueness for each teacher that will use the panel if you are doing that moving model. And the fact that we can simply pull lessons from our Google Drive or OneDrive, or even do something in the whiteboard, put that as a PDF and put it back into my Google or my OneDrive and be able to share it via Google Classroom, Schoology, Seesaw, depending on your district's LMS, it's up to you. So these user profiles will really play a big part in easing some of this also.
Hey, Bree, another question. Rachel asked, if I have students who are unable to tune in live, often due to multiple home learners vying for the same bandwidth, and must complete work after school hours, can these set lessons be recorded and saved for later viewing? What would you suggest there? I know Active Inspire is a good tool for that, but you can do that in Zoom too, correct?
Right, I would say if you're using a meeting platform and you want your students to be able to see you teaching while you're at your panel, I would tell you to just record it in whatever meeting application that you're using. Zoom has that feature, Google Meet has that feature. They all have the ability to record your meeting. So if you wanted something such as this, you could do that. There also, in our Active Inspire, we have a whole screen recorder that you could do a lesson and it'll record everything and convert it directly to an MP4. And there's also other ones that you can work with to get that to occur. But if you wanted them to see you teaching at the panel, I would just hit record in the meeting and then we could send that out.
And lastly, how does screen share get connected to the student Chromebooks? Michelle, we will be going into screen share momentarily, so we will offer a live demonstration of that.
Absolutely. Okay. So panel management comes into play here, because to have Zoom on your panels, you are going to need to use your panel management to engage your Google Play Store. Rich or Brandon, would you like to highlight more about the panel management?
Yeah, so for schools who have our Element Series panels, panel management is going to be a great tool to help, especially in these times, manage these devices in more of these remote situations. So for the IT admin within districts, without having to go into every room to manage updates or change some of the configurations on the panel, our panel management platform is a really great tool to centrally manage these devices. With the most recent updates, 4.0 and 4.1 is the most recent panel update. We now also have the ability to add the Google Play Store to the active panel. So for those of you who within the district are looking to maybe have more Google-based applications directly on the panel and are okay with opening that up to the teachers, we do have the option now of adding the Google Play Store on these devices. That is done through panel management by enabling it for all of the panels. So for any districts that might have interest in adding Google Play and those applications to the panels, definitely we're going to want to get you enrolled in panel management and get those panels managed for the district. So if you want more information on panel management, feel free to reach out to any of us on the call. We'd be happy to get you set up and going with panel management for your district.
Great, thanks, Brandon.
The question for the Google admin, panel management does not push out applications. I don't know that Google and the Google admin console has the same control over the Android side of things as it does with Chromebooks that you're familiar with. One of the reasons that we do also have other solutions like the Chromebox is for the ease of management for these devices. From the Android perspective, at least from what we've seen with Google admin and the way that our panel is kind of handled in that console, apps are needed to be manually added to the panel at each panel. Correct, yep. Each board would have be able to add their own apps once the Google Play Store is added, and I believe Bree will be getting into that here.
Great, thank you, Brandon. So part of it is when now we have this Google Play Store open, just some thoughts as to what would work on your panel, things that may be helpful. Again, we want to ease the teaching workflow. We want to make this go seamlessly so that we can, devote our energies to getting that the material and education out for our students. So when you're thinking about this and you enable your Play Store, of course you're going to want your distant learning apps on there. So you're going to want whatever software that you're choosing to use, Google Meet, Teams, Zoom, whichever one of those, in addition to your learning management system. So if it's Schoology or Google Classroom, Flipgrid, Seesaw, however you are communicating, possibly pushing assignments out to students, you'll want that on there because we have this ability to store things in our Google Drive and our OneDrive. It will be great to have to go from my Google Drive and put it right into my Google Classroom or my Schoology so that it's immediately available to our students. The other thing you may want to think about are your productivity apps. So things that you're going to use, such as PowerPoint, slides, Word, all of those things can be downloaded once you have that Play Store, and it'll ease the use of your panel and getting that information out. And then of course, lastly, whatever educational apps you may use, if you use BrainPop videos or IXL, anything that you would use to teach a lesson at your panel, you're going to want that on there so that while you're doing these recordings or you're having that synchronous learning occurring between your students in the classroom at home, you have everything you need right there at your fingertips to make that happen for your students. So the last thing we talked about that we felt was a really key component for this hybrid learning was that multi-device mirroring, which comes into play our screen share, where students can connect to their panel, your panel, and we can display student work. One of the biggest things that we lose through some of this mobile learning and virtual learning is that student conversation and showing off student work and peer editing, being able to actually give each student a voice within your virtual and hybrid classroom. So with screen share, it is in your unified menu, also located in your locker. But what it does is it presents a login code on your active panel. So this 6-digit code allows students to get in there. With this code, I'm just gonna make this big. We also have a waiting room. Your waiting room can hold up to 39 student devices or teacher devices logged right into the panel. And you're going to see that Rich and Brandon are gonna start logging into my panel. To do this from a computer, so Mac or PC, you would download the screen share software and it would be located on your desktop then, and you can log in from there. The nice thing about logging in on a Mac or a PC is it will enable touchback, which is why you see these great little green dots next to Brandon and Rich's computers. On a phone, you would use the My Promethean app, which we will make sure you see what that looks like. And I know we saw something about Chromebook. So on a Chromebook, the screen share is an extension on your student computer, and they would simply tap that extension, put in their 6-digit code, and hit share, and then they will be logged in. So it's a simple extension onto their Chrome browser on the Chromebooks.
Hey,
So
Bree,
let's get looking at.
Bree, if I could just jump in. Amy had a question. Amy, this webinar is intended to show options for hybrid learning. The follow-up that we will be providing has links to well over 400 training videos, coursework, things like that. I'm not familiar what district you're from, but there's a likelihood that there may be a virtual or an on-site training being planned for that as well. So just to let you know, if you have any training needs at all, you can certainly contact me or Brianne, and we can address those. But the information you're getting subsequent to this meeting will give you a full dose of a lot of learning about our panels and hybrid learning in general.
Great. So what you're seeing on that panel screen is 4 different devices from 3 different people who are not in the same place. So Brandon here is in Active Inspire. I'm going to show his screen big. You see the screen outline around it. It's because he is joining us from his Mac or PC. And again, the cool thing about this is with a Mac or PC, we can have touchback enabled on the screen. So now I can actually write on Brandon's screen, and I am here in Buffalo. So the cool thing with that touchback is it does allow us, again, to control the computer screen right here on our panel, no matter where they're signing in from, which to me, I know I picked yellow. That was a horrible color, wasn't it? There we go. Which allows you to see exactly what's going on and control. Great use here. In addition, though, we also can connect from our phones. Right here, we are seeing, I don't know whose phone this is, but I love it. Is this yours, Rich? I don't know, but we're seeing a video. The nice thing, now it's become a live webcam. So think about being in a classroom, or even figuratively, your camera becomes a document camera for you to show anything and everything. Oh, it's Rich. Thanks, Rich. So Rich is showing us his little learning center there and showing what his desk looks like. It's very organized, Rich. Thank you. The other thing I want to show, Katie is over here logged in on a phone. And this would work for an iPad also. So phones and iPads. This is the My Promethean app. It looks like a little flame. And you can download that from the App Store. It is free. And then if we wanted to disconnect, thank you, Brandon, you just tap an X and they're out of here. So bye-bye, well, once I'm out of my, you just tap an X and no longer they're showing. So in that off case that we know they may show something that we don't want them to, tapping that X can put them out quickly. So screen share, like you just saw, allows students to connect from anywhere, and then we can have those conversations. We can use that annotation tool, and we can talk about peer editing all in our classroom from our panel. Any other questions on screen share that I can answer? Okay, then I'm going to end our session of screen share. Okay, and then the last thing you really want to think about too is lesson delivery software. Through Promethean, we do offer Active Inspire with your purchase of your panels, and that is our local program that gets downloaded to your computers. And then we also have ClassFlow, which is our cloud-based program that's free to the world, with live polling, a marketplace, available to anybody who just created things. So with the ClassFlow, a couple of great things about ClassFlow. You can import a Google Classroom roster immediately, which is great. They have a marketplace full of tons of pre-made lessons and resources. You can upload pre-existing PowerPoints to it, Smart Notebook files, to create lessons. And then it has that live polling option that you saw in the beginning of our presentation today, where it's actually asking students to participate and interact with classroom material while you are teaching it. In addition to that, it has an assessment option towards the end where you can actually embed assessments in there. So think exit tickets, even as we talk about, you know, our remote learning type of thing, you can do all your tests online. These are just ways to, you know, engage the students in this different environment that we're living in. So ClassFlow is a great way. And really, I'm really proud to say that we've had this product long before COVID hit. So this, as far as like a synchronous learning lesson delivery with participation, it's been around, and it's a great tool for your teachers to use. In addition to that, we also have our Active Inspire, which I talked about. The great thing about Active Inspire is you can record anything on your computer. We just updated our Active Inspire, and the screen recorder is amazing. You can record any and everything that's occurring on your screen once you hit the record. So if you're doing a lesson in Active Inspire and you want to show them something on the internet or open another app on your computer, it's going to record everything that you're doing. And then it conveniently, as soon as you hit stop, turns it into an MP4 that can be uploaded to Google Classroom or Schoology or Seesaw, whichever it is that you're using. I think that is such a phenomenal tool for asynchronous learning. If we want to record lessons and send them out to students, that tool, that ability to screen record everything is wonderful because it does that MP4 quick file that you can send out. It also will allow you to export PDFs. So any lesson that you do, you can also create a PDF from that. And again, that can be uploaded to your LMS. In addition to that, one of the awesome things about Active Inspire, which ClassFlow has its own also, but Active Inspire has a resource library of almost 50,000 lessons that were already made and can be easily adapted to suit the needs of the teacher, the standards, and your students. So we are big believers in sharing and wanting teachers, you know, to work more efficiently, to increase their workflow and assist them through all of this.
Hey, Bree, if I can jump in, Laura had a question. Are all these things available on all Promethean active panels? Laura, what we're showing is most of the things that are available on the V6 and the V7 Elements panels and have been for quite a while. Screen share, for instance, has been on the panel for quite a while. Active Inspire has been around for about 15 years. ClassFlow, probably about 8 right now. And then the other tools of annotation, whiteboards, things like that are fairly inherent with the panels over the last couple of years. If there are things that were available from incoming teachers, let us know so that we can clarify. The only thing that we don't inherently carry on the panels are third-party apps like Zoom or Google Meet or Google Classroom. In order to download them, you would need access to the Google Play Store, which the panel allows for, and then the ability to download that and install it on the panel.
Yeah, and I see that she was asking a little bit about those older panels. So you can't, screen share will be on your older panel. I think the main things that you need will be on those older panels to make that hybrid model work. It just looks different because of I'm on the element panel, of titanium element series panel. I do see something, how do you access the resource libraries? I'm actually going to have a slide that has all of that for you. And you will be able to see all that. We don't want you to have to worry about sending, tapping on things. All of those links that'll get you to the resource libraries will be included in our follow-up email.
Another question about licensing for downloading Active Inspire on an iMac. For anybody using any active panels from Promethean, there's a label on the back left side as you're looking at the panel, begins 0016. That's the key code to open Active Inspire. You could take a cell phone photo of that. If you're not allowed in the school and want to use that and install on an iMac, let me know. We'll get you a license. We're intending for this to be used both in school and during COVID at home as well, to make sure that teachers have the tools that they need.
Great, thanks, Rich. Okay, so you asked about some of these websites. These are here. You can take a picture. You do not have to, because we are going to send you all of this information. But we've got a YouTube channel that's great to follow. Not only does it have videos from our content team, but you can also see best practices of teachers with their panels and how to use some of our resources. The resource library is right there. That is where you will find all of those pre-made flip charts that are available to you. In addition, we have a mobile learning website that will just kind of give you some ideas and some thoughts on how to get started, how to do your planning, how to set it up, little guidelines to just ease you on this journey that you're on. In addition, we have the same thing for hybrid learning with some videos on how to connect your panels, how to share screens. We really want you to be able to do all of these using whatever platform you chose. So that'll be the place you can find videos for connecting. I am going to take the time to show you our Learn Promethean website. We just gave it a beautiful facelift, and it is pretty much one-stop shop for the things that you need. On this website, we include virtual training that you can do, so on your own courses that we've developed to kind of get you familiar with the products that we have. We also have our events page, and we have articles all about different things. So the first thing I want to show you is our online courses. Our online courses allow teachers to sign up and take free courses to help assist them using their panel and what we have coming up. So some of the courses I'd like to highlight are the fact that we have a course solely based on teaching remotely using Promethean in the Google Classroom. It's about a 45-minute course to do on your own independently. We also have teaching remotely using the Promethean in a Microsoft Classroom. That again is about 45 minutes. We have orientations to your panel. We also have introduction to ClassFlow, so getting comfortable with ClassFlow, which was what I started this meeting out with. If you haven't taken any time to fool around with that, that's a great course to sign up for. It's free. It'll take you through steps and get you comfortable with what's there. And we also have more courses. Our latest was a Promethean Certified Teacher. So that is our longest course. It's about 2 hours, but it will get you to everything, Promethean wise. We also have a course on Active Inspire, an introduction there, as well as a Promethean mobile learning. So a lot of the things that we've talked about today, we have these self-paced courses for you to take and get familiar with. And also some districts have even used these toward CTLE hours. So resources there for you as far as self-paced courses to get you comfortable with what we're at. We also have our library of video tutorials, which I think is another big piece for many of you. When you tap on this, this is where you will find a library full of things you can use. We have a library for just using your active panel and your OPS resources. We also have a library for ClassFlow and Active Inspire, and they're leveled out. The videos are usually 2 to 3 minutes. You can search by what you're looking for, or you can just sit down and listen to them. Our curriculum and content person, Courtney, has the most phenomenal voice to hear these things, and it'll really help you get comfortable with the abilities that you have. I see some questions coming in. I'm told that our boards cannot download apps from the Google Store. They limit it to Promethean apps, but it sounds like you're saying we should be able to access a Google Play Store. That is Laura, that's a district decision. With these times, a lot of times they don't enable it because they do for security purposes. During these times, it might be a question that reopens and they revisit that situation of whether or not they will enable the Google Play Store.
Laura, depending on the district that you're at too, they may not have panel management set up, which is precursor to allowing the Google Play Store. If you can let me know what district you belong to, we can make sure that your administrators are fully informed on the nuts and bolts of panel management. Right. And
Yeah.
Brandon, would you mind, Kaylee Baldwin had a question with regard to screen share. I want to make sure that we're clear on that prior to moving forward.
Yeah, so I guess one of my questions is just from clarity. There are two different things we're talking about. There's sharing your screen through like Zoom, which we're currently doing right now, or Bree is actually sharing her screen through Zoom. And there's the screen share application that Promethean has directly on the panels. The screen share application is purely visible. So in the sense that, oh, I guess I should take a step back here. All we're doing with that is broadcasting or mirroring the student screens to the front of the panel. So in the case that you saw before, Rich, myself, and I believe Katie all shared our various screens to Bree's panel. Purely visual, purely at the panel. So if you wanted to see that as a student, let's say in a remote situation, they'd be watching it through that Zoom feed that we have going in this example here. The interaction is only being done at the panel itself. So any of the annotation can only be done at the panel itself. And for those Mac and PC users, so as we saw where my PC had Active Inspire open, the annotation that Bree was doing was strictly because screen share allows touchback to that device. So it only happens at the panel and for that device. Hopefully that's kind of clearing things up a bit, but I understand how it's a little bit confusing.
Yeah, and that won't occur with Chromebooks because they won't be able to have that touchback capability.
Yeah.
So, and I know that's usually what our students are working off of.
Yeah,
Right.
so from the students, if they're using a Chromebook, there will only be a visual coming through to the panel. So they'd be sharing their screen to the panel from that Chromebook. The teacher could then annotate on top of that or see what the students are doing, but there would be no interaction from other students unless they're in the class being able to touch the panel.
Right. A couple of other things. Laura wanted to clarification about apps and features relating to the panels themselves. Laura, we actually talked to Gloversville, what was it, last week, Brandon? And I think Bill is in the process of setting up panel management. There was a network consideration from NERIC that needed to be cleared up, and I think that has been. So I think you're going to see more features, possibly the App Store and everything beginning to appear on the panels in Gloversville. All right. And then Kathleen had a question. What do I do if I try to access a Google app and it tells me that I have to finish setting up by set up by encrypting? Brandon, is that a Google management part for the district that they're asking for a high level of security?
Potentially. Yeah, so that probably means that they're managing Android at a higher level, and yeah, the device would need to be encrypted. Yeah, there's a couple different things that could be accessing it. Yeah, that could be on the management side of things. If they're managing it with work profiles or higher level management through the Google Admin Console, it could be restricting it. As I mentioned earlier in the webinar too, when it comes to these panels, especially let alone Android devices, management, especially from the Google Admin Console, is a little bit different and how it compares to maybe a Chrome device. So I can definitely, if they have questions, they can reach out to us. We can kind of hopefully see if we can answer any of the specifics around there.
Yeah, sounds good.
As far as the specific model of the Promethean, so everything we're showing today, I know Rich already kind of mentioned, is focused on the Element series panels, or nickel and titanium displays that have the unified menu and everything built right in. For the older versions of panels, if they have an OPSG, they can get access to these apps as well. However, as we've kind of hopefully demonstrated, a lot of the resources that Bree has talked about today are things that you could also do on a computer. So while she is showing everything directly from the panel, the idea there is the ease of use, right? We have the ability to just walk up to this panel and begin using these resources. However, many of the things we covered today can also be done from a computing device. So a Chromebook, a Chromebox, a laptop, a Mac, a PC, running either ActiveInspire or ClassFlow through a browser. You can still share your screen through Zoom on those devices. You can plug those into the panel for the full touch interaction, that touch experience. So I guess to that point, even if you were way back on an active board with a projector, you could still do a lot of these same things through ClassFlow or through ActiveInspire on a PC or Mac, using that annotation, the timer and spinners built into that tool. So there are a lot of different ways we can approach this. We are focusing on the Element series panels today for this, but we definitely can integrate with other models of our devices for this hybrid learning environment.
Right. A few other questions. Ashley, we will be sending a follow-up document with full contact information for all the presenters today. And then of course, learning links and things like that. And I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your first name, but Imaga asked if there was a sign-in for the webinar. Imaga, when we sent the invitation out, there was a link to register for the webinar, and then the link within that confirmation would have been how to access the webinar. So if you're wanting an associate to join in on a future webinar, you can forward that same email, and that should be fine. Okay, Bree.
Awesome. So again, Learn Promethean, you will get the website for this, but that is really your first spot for any questions that you may have. It will get you everything you are looking for. So with that, thank you for being with us today. Please contact us if you'd like to schedule a training or have any questions. Again, you'll get all of this information in our emails, but Rich, the territory director, Catherine, our inside sales associate, and Brandon, our field sales engineer, we are all here to support you. We know that this is a very tough time for you, and we just want you to know that we understand and we will do whatever we can to help get you through it. So with that, I'll turn it over to Rich to close us out.
Thank you so much, Brianne, and thank you everybody for attending. One last question of if anybody has any questions, please speak up now. Otherwise, just feel free to give us a call or email, and we will address them as quickly as possible. If you have anything that hasn't been contacted or addressed within this webinar, please let us know that too, and we will address that as well. All right. I hope everybody has a great end of the summer and a terrific day, and I hope to talk to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.